I'm Ron DeLegge. It's great to see you again. On today's program, we're going to be talking about the back-end operation of the ETFK Retire Plan. We've got Evan Rapp with RPG Consultants joining us. Before we do that, just a quick reminder to go to ETFK.com to get your all ETF 401k plan started. Now, that's the first step, is just requesting a proposal. And then the second step is really customizing and building your all ETF 401k plan the way that you want. So ETFK.com is where you go to get started. We work with startup 401k plans along with established plans that want to upgrade their 401k plan to ETFs. So let's welcome Evan Rapp. He's managing partner at RPG Consultants. Evan, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Ron. Good to be here.
So let's begin with RPG Consultants. Is the record keeper and plan administrator for ETFK Retire, and your firm is an innovator in the 401k marketplace. So how long have you been doing this, and how did you get started?
Thanks for asking, Ron. So RPG started actually in the 1980s. It was just a two-person firm. It was started by my father, Evan Rapp. It was just him and an actuary. So he was the consultant, and there was an actuary that he worked with. In those days, balanced forward plans, which are these annual valuated trustee-directed plans, and cash balance or defined benefit plans were the most popular type of plans. So in those days, that's basically what he did. But towards the end of the 1990s, daily record keeping started taking off. People would be able to see their account balances every day. They'd be able to make trades every day, even though it's not supposed to be a day trading platform. And mutual fund-based companies and insurance-based companies started coming into the industry and started offering these daily record keeping platforms using an outside third-party administrator. So at that time, Alvin, my father, knew that there was technical expertise that was needed to bring that into RPG. So he recruited me from a career in hospital administration and brought me in 2001 to lead that initiative.
Yeah. And so it's been, you guys have been doing this a long time. So just to remind us, when you came in the early 2000s, it's been a long time since then. What was going on in the 401k market back then? Refresh our memories.
A lot of fees basically was basically the problem. So you have these mutual fund-based platforms, insurance-based platforms. There were annuity contracts. There was revenue sharing. There were WRAP fees, WRAP fees, and it was very, very expensive. There was no fee transparency, and we noticed also that there was a lot of problems with these 1-800 type companies where you would call a call center. You weren't really getting a ton of information. It was difficult to deal with them on a service level, but that was what was popular then. And companies, we started out and we started bringing in hundreds and hundreds of plans on this daily record keeping, whether they were new plans or even if they were existing plans that were balanced forward, because that was the way of the future. People were yearning for daily record keeping for their participants.
So let's talk about some of the challenges facing 401k plans today when it comes to the things that you do, administration of the actual plan. Talk about that.
So as a third-party administrator, what we're seeing problems in two specific areas. One area is really the design, the consulting, and the compliance of the plan, and the other one is the service. On the design, consulting, and compliance of the plan, what we come across a lot, our owners come to us and say, my plan has failed discrimination testing. Now remember, there are a lot of different discrimination tests that are involved in third-party administration and running 401k plans. There's some that are availability tests, there are utilization tests, there are asset tests, but the big one that we get a lot of is the utilization test, also known as the ADP or actual deferral percentage test. In these tests, the IRS looks at the comparison of the highly paid people and how much they're utilizing it versus everyone else. And a very common question we get, or a very common problem that people come to us about, is the owner who says, I had to return money to myself. I had to take money back. I wasn't able to participate as much as I wanted to. I don't understand why. Is there anything that we can do about that? And in fact, there is. Plan design can overcome a lot of these issues. Now, it's not always so simple, but there needs to be a discussion with the client and it needs to find out, why is it set up this way? What are the other options? And most of the time, the clients don't realize that there are any other options. So that's really one of the first ways that we're seeing where we can be consultative in helping clients overcome some of these issues.
Yeah, the other thing too is timely administration and customer service, which is another discipline that you have, another service within RPG. And that's a challenge also for a lot of small business owners with a 401k plan. Talk about that.
So a lot of these bigger companies, these record-keeping companies, they call them full service. I find what they do is they tend to throw in TPA services. They tend to throw it in, and what that really means is they're commoditizing that part of the business. It's almost like if your payroll company throws in your accounting services. Okay, you want to go to an accounting specialist, a CPA, to do your accounting work. You need a third-party administrator to do your third-party administration work. It's not just a button-pushing type of situation. You can't just take information, whatever's brought in, and spit it out. It needs to have consultation. It needs to have humans looking at it. It needs to make sense. If a person is supposed to be on the census and isn't on the census, somebody's got to look at that and see it and not hide behind lawyers and legal teams and say, oh, well, you didn't give us the information. So that's one area. The other one is I find a lot of these bigger companies are expecting the clients to understand some of these technical things. I once saw a year-end test from one of the bigger payroll companies who have a 401k platform where they basically said, you tell me who's considered a highly compensated employee. Now, for those of you that don't know, highly compensated is not such an easy thing to figure out. There are a lot of different technical explanations and a lot of different things that go into determining by IRS standards who's considered highly compensated.
Yeah, for sure. And it could be confusing for the client. I mean, if they pick whatever generic numbers are available on the internet, that still might not be the right answer. So they definitely need some guidance. Now let's talk about ETFK Retire, the all ETF 401k plan. And you're working with us on this as the administrator, as well as a record keeper. Talk about what you're doing in terms of your back end work with ETFK Retire.
So first of all, I'll tell you what I'm not doing, which is very important as well. So there are four different roles outside of the company, outside of the employer and the participants that make up a 401k plan. And one of them is the investment advisor. So RPG is a non-producing third-party administrator. We do not have an investment arm. We do not compete with any investment provider. So there's always going to be an investment professional who's going to be working with the client, giving them guidance and education on the investments. The other thing that we're not the custodian. We do not hold any of the plan assets. The plan assets are held in a third-party custodian, which is one of the largest in the 401k arena. It's known as it used to be called Mid-Atlantic Trust Company. Now it's called American Trust Company. They're based in Pennsylvania. They are the largest. They hold trillions of dollars of 401k money. So even though we are what's known as CFEC certified, which means that we are both certified by FI 360 in both record keeping and administration, which does give us an annual audit every year. So it gives us the credibility. We are a stable company. We've been around for a long time. We do not want to hold 401k assets. So we're record keeping them. We're doing the administration, but we're not holding them. So that's what we don't do.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then, is IRS reporting part of that also, like the Form 5500? Is that part of your role?
Yes. So that's what we do. Actually handle. Yeah. So we handle both the design of the plan. As I mentioned before, we will sit down with a client. We will talk to them about their objectives, which by the way can change as things go on. And we always have our finger on the pulse. We're always checking in with a client, figuring out whether or not their objectives change, whether the demographics change, and we can always amend plans throughout the life cycle of a plan to better meet those needs of the client. But we start out with a consultation call where we talk about the plan design. And a lot of these clients don't know all the other the options that are available. And one of the greatest things about the ETFK platform is that it's not just pulling something off the shelf. We are really able to customize it for every individual in terms of eligibility, in terms of contributions, in terms of distribution provisions, obviously subject to IRS rules and regulations. But it's not just a one-stop shop when it comes to this thing. And that's very, very important for people to understand, is that we are based on ETFs, and ETFs are the core of the fund menu. But that doesn't mean that you have to just have the same provisions as everybody else.
Yeah, makes total sense. And by the way, I want to do a shout out to our audience. Hit us up in the comment section below. I want you to try to stump Evan with any record keeping questions, third party administration questions, anything related to 401k administration or record keeping. Hit us up with your questions in the comment section below. Let's see if you can stump him. I don't think you can, but go ahead, try. One final question before you take off, Evan. Employers or individuals with a 401k plan that want to migrate, maybe they've got a solo 401k or maybe a small business 401k plan, and they're able to control, how that, or maybe they're not happy with it. Maybe they're not happy with the administration or the investment choices, and they want to go and upgrade to ETFK Retire. Obviously, they're going to go to ETFK.com. And then what happens? Explain the process of how RPG steps in. What is your role during that intake process?
So after you hit the Get Started button on the ETFK website, you'll fill out a very, very short form, which will give us the information where we can then contact you. We can do a lot of different things during the initial calls. We can do a benchmarking report. We can review your plan. We can give some consultation as well. But once we're retained and once you decide you want to move forward with us, we have a dedicated conversions team that handles everything from soup to nuts, from the process of getting the contract signed, getting paperwork signed, up until and through the enrollment meeting with your staff. It was very, very important to me to have this first touch for a client, to be able to deal with a dedicated team of people, professionals in my office who does all that handholding to take you through that process. After we get through that process, we do turn you over to a support team, which handles everything going forward from there. But that conversions team is going to handhold you. There's nothing to be afraid of. We've done this many, many times, and we're happy to help you through that process. I always like to say, although we have a 1-800 number, we're not a 1-800 shop. That's the mentality of a family-owned business like mine, and that's what was really, really important to me, taking on new clients.
Yeah, I like that. And I'm sure that our audience definitely appreciates that hands-on touch that you have at RPG Consultants. So great having you on today's program, Evan. Keep up the good work and look forward to having you on the next episode.
Thank you, Ron.
That was Evan Rapp, managing partner at RPG Consultants. Be sure to go to ETFK.com to get your all ETF 401k plan started. And as we mentioned in that conversation, whether you're a startup plan, you're beginning a new 401k plan, or you want to upgrade to an all ETF solution, again, you'll get started at ETFK.com. I'm Ron DeLegge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.